Gulf of Mexico was so named over 500 years ago. Maybe we should rename it the Sea of Emoluments, a place where one can board the ship of fools and navigate from a state of ignorance to the Confederacy of dunces.
Wyoming used to have a perfectly serviceable conservative representative in Congress in Liz Cheney. I'm always hesitant to give any credit or credence or praise to Liz Cheney because when she was in Congress, she voted with Donald Trump nearly 100% of the time. It was like 95% of the time. She is a MAGA Republican. She is. She's wildly conservative, bigotedly conservative. So look, I don't want to be allied with her type, but for some reason, she did the right thing relative to preserving democracy in this country. I don't think she's a good person. I think she's a bigot. I think she's hateful. She's everything that I fight against every single day in every single video on this channel. But she's a far cry better representative than Harriet Hageman, this clown show idiot who brings lassos and shit into congressional meetings as props because she has no substance in and of herself as a representative, as someone who is a legislator, to write legislation to ease the pain and make the lives of Americans better. No, none of that. In fact, what she has set her attention to is to ensure that Americans know that it's the Gulf of America, not the Gulf of Mexico. And these are the reasons why. We're going to play this, and then I'm going to get to another Congresswoman, Gay Scanlon, who just really lights this aflame. But first, Harriet Hageman, maybe being the dumbest dumb shit who ever dumb shit some dumb shit in a town filled with dumb shits.
For a variety of reasons, but I think another reason why we should change this to the Gulf of America versus the Gulf of Mexico is for over 40 years, the country of Mexico has been dumping raw sewage into the area near San Diego, California. And the head of the EPA, Lee Zeldin, was just there approximately 2 weeks ago. I was just in San Diego meeting with some folks down there, and they described the situation. It's absolutely a horrific situation. It is an environmental catastrophe and disaster created, and the country of Mexico absolutely refuses to address it and fix it. And has been fouling our waters for decades upon decades. It needs to be resolved. But that is another reason why we need to retake and claim ownership of this area and make sure people do know that it is the Gulf of America. We should not be rewarding Mexico for their bad acts. And that's just one example.
That sounds like...
All right, now listen, a lot of people are going to say, well, she's just talking about an action of Mexico, and that's why we need to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. But the last sentence there doesn't do her any favors. That's another reason we need to retake and claim ownership of this area. The area that she just spoke about being damaged and polluted by raw sewage in San Diego. But the problem lies in many things, that MAGA are stupid, that they are intellectually incurious, and this is a moron who doesn't understand basic geography. And listen, being someone who is from the area that she's from, Wyoming, I'm from northern Idaho, it's a similar culture. You can't say, well, she lives far away from there, she just doesn't know. It doesn't work that way. You're a member of Congress, and you don't know that San Diego, just throw the map up here, San Diego is way over here on the west coast, and the Gulf of Mexico is way over. I mean, even if you go the shortest distance, it would probably be near Houston, right? I'm closer to the Gulf of Mexico in Washington, D.C. than San Diego, California. This is just an embarrassment. If they could feel embarrassment and humiliation, they would never show their fucking faces ever again. Ever again. Luckily, there are Democrats in the room, and by that I mean adults in the room who actually have a functioning understanding of how things work and how things should work, more importantly. And Gay Scanlon had this to say as a follow-up. Watch this.
This institution, as was mentioned, the Gulf of Mexico was so named over 500 years ago. If we want to update that name to reflect our current American culture, maybe we should rename it the Sea of Emoluments. You know, a place where one can board the ship of fools and navigate from a state of ignorance to the Confederacy of dunces, because that appears to be where this legislation is heading us. I yield back.
I like to think in quiet moments of solemn reflection when I'm alone that the Confederacy of dunces she was just referring to, that it was directly referring to Harriet Hageman. That Harriet Hageman is a Confederate dunce. These people will do anything, say anything, embarrass themselves to no, there's no level of embarrassment or humiliation that will dissuade them from backing the play of Donald Trump. Look, I don't care if we rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America because it doesn't change anyone's life. It doesn't materially harm someone. I don't care. I mean, certainly we're going to spend some money that we could have spent elsewhere, and that's kind of a bummer, but it doesn't rise to the level of a bunch of attention. The most important aspect of this story is the fact that Republicans are a cult, and they will back the play of Donald Trump no matter how insane or inane his direction is. It is a deal where, like Troy Nell said, that when Donald Trump says to jump, you don't even ask how high, you just jump, or whatever the thing he said was.
If Donald Trump says jump 3 feet high and scratch your head, we all jump 3 feet high and scratch our heads. That's it.
If I have that clip, that'll go here. If I can't find it, then just imagine Troy Nell's being a moron. But this is where we are. Even things that aren't that important or critical, that might be just a distraction, they point to a larger rot in the body politic of America. They point to a cancerous tumor, a active, bleeding tumor inside the colon of America, which at this point is Donald Trump, that needs to be excised. And someone who survived colon cancer a few years ago and they took out a third of my colon, I know all about it. And let me tell you, it's eerily similar to the medical condition that I overcame. Anyway, what do you think? Good for you, Mary Gay Scanlon, Congresswoman Scanlon. Good for you, absolutely. And Harriet Hageman, do better, be better if you possess the ability within you, you moron. Comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. If you're into supporting this work, become a channel member, go to my Patreon page. Those are great ways. You can buy merch at dollemore.com. I will see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.